All right, NBC10 political commentator Sue O'Connell is here with us. Sue, we got plenty to talk about
Indeed.
today, but I want to start with the passing of Ethel Kennedy. For the younger members of our audience, maybe people who are unfamiliar, I want you to explain sort of what Camelot was and what Ethel's passing means for it.
Sure, Colton. Camelot was the one word that summed up the myth that surrounded the Kennedys of that era. Camelot, as I'm sure you know, was the fictional castle and court in the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. They were considered wise and brave, and many leaders over centuries have referenced Camelot as an inspiration to their leadership. Now, the term was first used in conjunction with the Kennedys by President John F. Kennedy's widow, Jackie. Just days after his assassination, Jackie was being interviewed by a Life magazine writer, and she quoted the last lines of a song from the Broadway musical Camelot. Quote, "Don't let it be forgot that once there was a spot for one brief shining moment that was known as Camelot. There will be great presidents again, but there will never be another Camelot." And thus she launched the Camelot myth, and it forever became connected to the Kennedys.
And going back to Ethel Kennedy, certainly a life well lived there. All right, let's talk about Harris and Trump. Listen, both of them, they've got a gender problem, right? Trump certainly doesn't do well with women. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to explain that one. Harris, on the flip side, she needs to do more to bring more men into her fold. Here's my question. Does each campaign sort of risk alienating the gender that does support them, but reaching out to the other gender in the process? Sort of, how do you explain the tent without making it feel less special for those who are already, how do you expand the tent without making it feel less special for those who are already inside of it?
Right. So the challenge here for each candidate is not to repel the other gender, right? That's why the Harris campaign has been focusing their abortion access message on miscarriage treatment, right? Telling men they need to keep their wives and their mothers and their daughters safe, and why Tim Walz is going to football games. And Harris, of course, went on Howard Stern. But Trump has a more difficult challenge. Some of the outreach he is doing to connect with young male voters is via toxic environments, and the tone and the messages on social media from these guys can be crass and sexist. So Harris's bid to get women to the polls is much less risky than Trump's effort to get men.
Well, not to interrupt, but you know who might help Trump with women?
Who?
Nikki Haley.
Good idea.
Right? I mean, that's my question is, why isn't Trump putting her on the stump, sort of asking her to be a surrogate for him right now?
Well, that's the question. Where is Nikki Haley, right? So Trump either has not asked her to campaign for him, or has she benched herself? There's been some reporting that Haley expressed concern to campaign managers on the Trump team about how Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance talk about women and how they should change that. And she's certainly not out there urging her supporters to vote for Trump. And we just got some new polling that shows that Nikki Haley Republican voters, the Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley in the primary, they may be up for grabs. And many say they are voting for Harris Walz.
Yeah, well, we'll never forget when she stood there at the RNC and said, "I fully support," shaking her head no. Sue, as always, thank you. And, of course, don't forget, everyone, we recap all the week's biggest political headlines every Sunday for you on At Issue. You can join Sue, Corey Smith, and Matt Pritchard. It airs at 11:30 immediately following Meet the Press.